Hurry up. All right, quick calendar look. As always, the normal thing, you have to have your graphing calculator next week on Wednesday. Make sure you bring it on Wednesday. I would like for you to also bring it on Thursday, Friday, and Monday when we do the review for the math portion as well too. But you have to absolutely have it to take the test. Is that going to be a problem for anybody? Okay. We're going to do chapter 11 review. It's one day we're going to take the test. I will promise you that, as I said before, this chapter is just about, can you copy down a formula? Can you plug in numbers? The entire chapter was just about shapes and formulas, right? There's lots of them. It is an open book test in the sense of your book of truth. You should do fine on this test. It's the first test of the quarter. So all we've had so far is homework. So the kids that have done all their homework have 100% right now. You get an F on this test, you're going to have an F, right? So make sure that you pass this one. All right. Any questions on the homework before we grade it?
Why was it so?
Yeah, I had one. 8 and 9.
8 and 9. Pick one.
8.
Number 8. Let's look at number 8. Get it. All right. Number 8 says the following. It says, and by the way, this problem is kind of like the coin problem, just with a different scenario. It says a parachutist, or parachutist plural, jump from an airplane and land in a rectangular field is shown. What is the probability that a parachutist avoids the two trees represented by the circles? What is the probability that they avoid? That means where do they need to land? Anywhere but the trees. So you have a big little circle, big circle, and we're told we are given diameters of 10 and 16. This small one's 10, the big one is 16, and the rectangle is 100 by 80 in meters. Now, where do we want to land?
Not on the trees.
So where do we want to land? We want to land not in the circles. How much area is there? That's not circle.
A lot more than
Okay, so how would we calculate that? Don't give me numbers, give me words.
Field versus
Field what? Field will be a rectangle, so it will be rectangle.
over circles.
I need the area of the not trees. So it would be rectangle.
8,000.
Okay. If I wanted to do area of a house, right? And you're like, well, it is a pentagon. I don't know the formula for area of a pentagon. What could you do instead?
Either rectangle and triangle.
So how do I calculate not trees? Same idea.
Oh, do the area of both.
Rectangle.
Wait. Do the area of.
Rectangle. You said this is rectangle plus triangle. So what would this be if we want it to be not trees?
Rectangle minus trees.
And the trees are in this case a what shape?
Circle.
So rectangle minus circle 1 minus,
Circle 2.
that's the formula. Now we just plug in the numbers. All right, the rectangle is what?
8,000.
Okay, and he's just doing the math. Circle 1 is, be careful,
Those are diameters, right?
those are diameters.
Okay, so it's ID.
You better hope this is in your book because you don't have this memorized. Circle. Danny, you remember the area of the circle?
Isn't it like pi r squared?
It is pi r squared. So what's the radius here, Matt?
So
Small circle. What's the radius?
5.
Okay, so 5 squared, 25 pi, minus, big circle,
8
64 pi. 25 pi plus a 64 pi is what, 89 pi, so it's 8,000 minus, what did I say, 89 pi. Calculator. Do they leave in terms of pi? They do not.
I've lost my
Nice one, Wes.
Oh, now I'm calculating.
What'd you get? By the way, just looking at I tried to draw pretty close. Do you think it's high or low probability, by the way? You think it's high or low? To land in, not tree.
Well, I just got 286% somehow.
We don't want percent, we want area. This is going to give us an area.
286.
286. How do you calculate probability?
Put it over something.
Okay, so what are we going to put it over? And by the way, 286 is not even possible.
77.
It's not even possible.
77.
You just did 8,000 minus 89 pies, and you got 200. 8,000 minus 89 pi. 89 pi, even my claim is 100. 100 times 3 is 300. You did 8,000 minus 300, and you got 286.
89 times 3.14.
Listen to what you're saying.
Yes.
Keep talking.
I took 89 and multiplied by 3.14. I got 200 less than 900.
Agreed, but the form is 8,000 minus that.
Oh, sorry.
You gave me what, 89 times, well, even that's wrong. 7,720 is what Chandler's getting. Are you getting that roughly?
We're about to find out.
The calculator's not your friend.
7,720.
Okay. So that was just the error. We got to do probability. It was the probability that you land inside of the rectangle, not the trees. So here's the area that's not trees. All that would be divided by. Probability is the number of ways to win over every single possibility. Well, what's every single possibility? And that'll give you the answer in a decimal. I'm just saying this. I look at the picture. Does it look like we're going to land in the rectangle, or does it look like we're going to land in the circles? It looks like, so it should be a pretty high percentage.
96%.
We got a 96% chance of landing not in a tree. Number 2 was done exactly like the first example we did, where we had a segment. Calculate the distance of getting inside the selected area over the entire distance. Well, how are you going to do this tomorrow?
I'm going to look for it.
Okay.
Daniel. You want to win?
All right, any other questions? Here we go. Was it 1 through 5 all? Number 1 was 25% or a quarter. Number 2 had an A, B, and a C. A was 50% or a half. B was 25% or a quarter, and C was 3/8. Let me see. That's going to be less than 50%. What's 3/8? What is it? As a percent? 3/8? For C? Did you just put 3/8 or did you put the percentage?
37%.
37%. Number 3 is a quarter, 25%. Number 4 had an A and a B. A is 1/6, 17-ish percent. B is 2/5 or 40%. 5, very small number for A, 1/25. That's a pretty small percentage. B is 3. After how many throws? 75 darts, or after many throws, 75 darts to hit the target. Estimate the number of hitting the bullseye.
I got 30 for that.
You just moved your decimal place in the wrong thing. Divide 1 by 25. What do you get? 0.4 times 75. You threw 75 darts. You got a 4% chance of hitting it. So how many hit? 3. That's where they get 3 from. You're looking at it like a monkey, Matt. What's going on?
I'm just not.
Do you understand that? Okay, you got a 3% chance. What was it? 4%? 4% chance of hitting the bullseye, right? If you throw it 50 times, how many bullseyes are you going to get? You'll get a 4% chance. So all you do is take the percentage and multiply it by how many you threw. Make sense? Okay. All right, and then 8 and 9. Well, we did 8. We found out being, what was it, 90 something percent? 96. Book says 97% they're rounding. And then number 9 is 4%. 4%. By the way, number 9 was that game that we played yesterday, except with dimes. Now you're going to do it with quarters. So quarters a lot larger, so you got literally no chance of, practically 4% chance of throwing it so it lands up inside the square, not on a line. That would be a typical carnival game where you got 4% chance of winning. All right, hey, I'm gonna give you the same speech that I always give you. I am literally handing you the test. Shame on you that if you can't prepare yourself to do well on the test. I'm handing you the test. There will be no difference tomorrow. If you show up tomorrow and you literally have on any one of these numbers a big question mark, I don't know what to do, shame on you, because we have a whole class period to go over this. You can ask as many or as few questions as you'd like. Shame on you if you don't know what to do tomorrow. Your job as a student, knowing that you have a test, is to prepare yourself to do well on the test. How do you do that? You study the practice test, at least for my class, right? There are no surprises. There's no proofs. There's no hidden word problem. There's just what you see in front of your face. If you do this practice test right now, and you're like, well, I can get all of these right now, then you can be guaranteed you're going to get an A tomorrow. You can have your book of truth. You can have notes on this thing. You can transpose this entire test into your book of truth if you'd like. All of that you can do. You should be able to pass this test. Well, and the numbers are going to be different, but I'm saying there isn't any surprises.
I'm just saying, like the examples I do on here.
That's what I would do. I mean, if it's one that you need help on. I mean, like I said, you're going to see some of these and you're like, well, I don't need help on that. That one's an easy one. But for the ones that you're like, yeah, I definitely need some help there, then absolutely positively write this example in your book of truth so that you can do it. All right, Brianna, you should be able to see the practice test. All right, here we go. I'm going to show you the question. You're either going to say, I can do it, or I need help on this one. All right, number 1, could you calculate the area with or without my help? Okay, I'm skipping number 1. Number 2, could you do number 2? Okay, what's the shape, Matt? Look in your book of truth. Tell me what the formula is for parallelogram. Well, then you need to write it down right now. Formula for area parallelogram, Chandler, is? It's the same as a rectangle, which is? Base times height. Now, you can say, well, rectangle's length times width, then you got to change it to base times height. Now, this one can cause you problems because, look, the red dotted line is not inside the parallelogram, it's outside. So 3.7 is attached to this little red square. Clearly, that's the height. But the base here is 10.3. Just be careful. I can turn this sideways. I can put the side information on it as well, too. Just remember, the base and the height will both touch the red square. You're like, well, no, it doesn't. 10.3 doesn't touch the square. Agreed, but if you extend the base, it would. Who's lost on that? It is literally 10.3 times 3.7, and you can have a calculator on the test. By the way, if you think that you're going to screw this up, make sure that you put step 1, write the base formula, A equals BH. Step 2, plug in the numbers, and then step 3, grab your calculator, write the answer. That way, at least if you make a mistake and you fat finger your calculator, I can at least give you partial credit for identifying the correct shape, plugging in the right numbers, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? That's number 2. Questions? Danny? Questions? Okay. Number 3. You guys are driving. We going over this or we're not going over number 3? Number 3, what's the shape? What's the formula? Base times height divided by 2. Watch me. On a perfect paper, it would say A is equal to base times height divided by 2. This would be on your paper. Then you would plug in the right numbers. Remember, the square touches the base and the height. So Danny, what are the base and the height of this triangle? (3.5 and 8). So the base is 8. The height is 3.5. This is in the book. And it should be in your book of truth because you wrote it down. I've got all the numbers. I got it right there. I grabbed my calculator, do that calculation, and this is in feet. So whatever that is, 3.5 is close to 4. 8 times 4 is 32. Divided by 2 is 16. It better be a little bit less than 16 square feet. Not sure why this is in pink. All right, questions? Are we ready to move on? Moving on. What's the shape? Trapezoid. What's the formula? A for area is equal to somebody. Nobody knows the formula?
I do.
What is it?
Area, base times.
No, you've already got it wrong.
Times plus that times
The two bases added together. So base 1 plus base 2. The two bases are the parallel sides. Then what do we do? Times the height. And then lastly, divide by, that's a horrible line, divided by 2. The little square right here, I should do that in a different color. The little square right here touches the two bases, 3.5 and 1.5, and it touches the height. Doesn't matter. Addition is commutative. 1 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 1. The base are the two parallel sides. It would. They're parallel. Trapezoid has two sides that are parallel. The other two sides will not be parallel. Those are the legs. Plug in the numbers, do the math. Questions on trapezoids? Notice I'm not going over the answer. You've got the answer in front of you on the sheet. You can do the math yourself. A is area, correct. All right, number 5. Get out of here. Why are you in the way? Height divided by 2. Well, you got to plug in the numbers and do the math. Yes. The entire test is simply, can you identify the shape? Can you identify the formula? Can you plug numbers in? Can you do the math? And it did it again. Go away so I can click the button. There we go. All right. Next shape, yes or no? Next shape, yes or no? Danny, what's the shape? Okay, what's the base and the height of this parallelogram? 10.9 in. The base and the height. So what's the base? What's the height? There you go. What's the 4 there? Four is one of the sides. We don't need it for this particular one, but it's a true value. All right. No. Number 7, yes or no? So what's the base and the height here, Matt? What's the height? Is the base always the bottom? No. Just make sure you have that strong in your head. The base doesn't have to be the bottom. The height is the perpendicular distance between the base and the opposite vertex. My eyeball just goes to the square, always. Base times height divided by 2. It's a triangle. All right, number 8, yes or no? Danny, what's the shape? That is not a parallelogram. The left and the side are not parallel. That is a trapezoid. What are the 2 bases of this trapezoid? What is the height? You should be able to get this one right. All right, I will give you, no joke, I will give you the first 8 questions. Will be the rectangle, the parallelogram, the triangle, and the trapezoid. 8 questions. I am setting you up for success. There's always like 20 to 25 questions on a test. Okay. The first 8, it should be like Christmas. I'm giving you nice, easy, friendly questions. Number 9, what's the difference, Matt? I'm trying to find one of the sides. What's the shape? What's the formula for a rectangle? A is equal to base times height. What do we know? Okay. We know the base. The base here is, what do we not know? We don't know the height. Do we know the area? So what are you going to do? All right. You're in geometry. You should know how to solve a one-step equation. Just remember, when you're solving for the base or the height, is it square units or just regular units? Well, I'm solving for the height. So would the answer be feet squared or just feet? Just feet. Good? All right. Number 10, Danny, what's the shape? Okay, it sure looks like a trapezoid if you include those dotted lines, yes? It's a parallelogram. Now, be careful, tomorrow it won't be in red. Yours isn't red right now either. It'll be just like what you see. It'll be black dotted lines. The black dotted lines are not part of the shape. So let's see, A for area, formula for parallelogram is equal to, what is it? Parallelogram? Yes, you do. You wrote it down for question number 2. I don't know why. 2 and 6 and 10 are the same question. The shape is a, Danny, I've asked you 3 times. What's the shape? Formula. Base times height. Because this is the 3rd time you've seen this. On this particular one, what are we given? We are given the area is 80. We are given the base, which is 10. We just don't have the, why did I write 8? I meant to write 80. All right, it's fixed now. Solve that one-step equation and you're done. And remember, the units will not be square units. Okay. Shape is a, Chris, what's the shape? Number 11. Triangle. Whoever's got a phone, put it in your locker. Take your phone, go to your locker, put it away. Somebody's phone just went off. All right, go put it in your locker. One person, so you don't have your buddy Scam not calling you? If you look at my phone, it says that Scam called me 36 times in the last 2 weeks, you know? I need to get that because Scam,
It's only for T-Mobile.
I have T-Mobile.
Oh, really? You know, every day during 3rd period.
Scam calls you?
Yeah. Like literally every day when I get home and I check my phone, missed calls at like 10:05 during 3rd period. It's a scam I can call me.
All right. Number 13, skipping forward to number 13. Number 11, taking a look at number 11. What's the shape? What's the formula? Ethan, what's the formula? It's a triangle. Come on. What do we know in this particular problem? Area is what? Ugly numbers, but we have a calculator. We're not going to panic. 43.8. Do we know the base or the height? We know the base is 11.1. We do not know the height. Apparently all these I made heights, but it might be the base. And it's still divided by 2. So Ethan, solving this algebra problem, first thing, what are we going to do? Multiply both sides by 2 and then divide by 11.1 and you're done. It's a triangle, base times height divided by 2. But this time we don't have the height. That's what we're solving for. All right, 13. What's your shape, Seth? Let's do 13 first. I'll go back to 12. What's the formula for rhombus? Area of a rhombus. A for area is equal to Seth. What's the formula? Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. It's that simple. Do not miss number 13. Half of you are writing down notes like you've never done this before. It scares me to think that you sat there in class and you didn't fill in your notes for your book of truth. I think this was before we did e-learning. Was it after? Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. You should be able to do this one in your head. 10 times 12 divided by 2. Okay, that's... I don't need to put hard numbers to figure out whether you can do it or not. I can put easy numbers to figure out that you didn't take notes during e-learning. Clearly. All right. Somebody wanted to see 12. So who was it? Walk me through it. A is equal to... No, I meant formula. A is equal to... It is... What do we know? What do we know? 82.2. Base 1 is, okay, you might call that base 2, but it doesn't really make a difference. Plus, we'll call base 2 is the one we don't know. The height is 10.4. And divided by 2. So just as Ethan quickly worked through the triangle, you should be able to quickly work through this. Step 1. Multiply both sides by 2. Step 2. No. If we got rid of the 2, divide both sides by 10.4, and then you're left with a one-step equation. Now subtract the 4.7 and you're done. You got a calculator in your hand. This is not a big deal. Get rid of the 2, multiply both sides by 2, divide by 10.4, subtract 4.7, in that order. It's got to be done in that order. All right, here we go. This is probably the most challenging one. It's got the most steps. You will need your calculator. Potentially, you will need to use trig. You possibly could use special right triangles. I would say use trig, make your life easier, and you don't have to worry about special right triangles. All right, so the formula, we're all going to do this one, number 14. The formula is A is equal to PA or AP over 2. We'll write PA. P stands for perimeter, A stands for apothem, well, 2 stands for 2. That's easy. Hey, guess what the perimeter here is? 14 times 8 is 112. All right, so we got that far. We could divide that by 2 and already have that done if we wanted to, right? You don't have to. Okay, so here are the big steps. The big steps are we have to make this, notice, oh, wait a minute. It gives us the apothem. There's nothing to do here. Remember, the definition of apothem is the distance between the center perpendicular to any side. Hey, there's nothing to do here. I gave you a Merry Christmas here. This one is a Merry Christmas. All right. This one's easy. Let's look at a more challenging one. It's oh man. All right, I got to call it audible here. I gave you too easy of a problem here. I got to change this. No, I don't want to give them that. I want to give them a side and trig. Everyone, side and trig. Give them a side. Okay. Oh, don't give them an ugly one like that. There we go. All right, let's do this one. How did I not notice that when I was doing this? All right, here we go. So the setup is still the same. Let's see. A is equal to PA divided by 2. Perimeter here is 10 times 6 is 60. So now we have to actually calculate the apothem. And you could divide that 60 by 2 here and already have 30 times A. All right, so we put a dot in the center. We know the apothem would be right here. And that would be the radius. There's the triangle to make it. It is a right triangle. We're going to figure out this angle right here. How many degrees in a circle? 360, dot, 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 dot. You don't have to draw this dotted line. So it's 360 divided by how many sides? Gives us 60. And then you take half of that to get the small angle right here. 60 would be from here to here. We only want one of these. So this would be 30 degrees. Now this one is a special right triangle, but don't panic. We don't have to use special right triangle. We can still use trig. I'm gonna erase this one. Okay. Everybody okay with that step? That's the first step always. It's going to be 360 divided by how many sides, then take half of it. We want to find the apothem. I'll write this in blue. The apothem will be right here. A. For all you. The apothem would be right here as A. It says that this side right here is 10. So how much is this part of the triangle right here? Okay. So now I have a right triangle. Apothem is what we need. I know that side is 5. What's the trig? Tan. So the tangent of 30 degrees would be equal to the opposite, which is 5, over the adjacent, which in this case is A. Do you remember how to solve that? You understand where I got the 30 from? Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Look at the triangle. The opposite is 5 over the apothem. Now I'm just going to solve for A. Do you remember what the pattern was when A is on the bottom? By A. So if I multiply both sides by A, the A's canceled, and then I'm going to divide by tan 30. So A would be equal to 5 divided by tan 30. Make sure you're in degrees. And what do you get? Mike is saying 8.7. Do you agree? Don't ever agree with Mike. Check it for yourself. He can make a mistake too. He's probably right, though. It looks about 8.7. If the other side is 10, it's probably going to be a little bit less.
That is not what I got.
What did you get?
Wrong answer, 0.7.
You definitely got the wrong answer because
I got negative 0.7.
Is your calculator in degrees or radians? You did 5 divided by tan 30.
I did 5 divided by 10.
There's no way.
There's no way. You're either in radians or you're typing the wrong thing in your calculator. 5 divided by tan 30, close your parentheses. Everybody else get 8.7? You getting it right now, Matt? I know you were. Okay, 8.66, right? So 8.7. So that would be, going back to our original problem, that would be 60 times. Now, if you really want to get more accurate, you put 8.66 instead of 8.7. Times it by 60 divided by 2. What do you get? What's the answer in the back? You forgot to divide by 2. Oh, you don't have the answer for that. That's right. Duh, sorry. The answer is 259.8. 2 of them. One, I will give you the apothem, and one you will have to do like this. Yes, it did. You told me everything. What was step 1? Draw the triangle. How do we find that degrees? How do we find the degrees? 360 divided by the number of sides, and then take half. Then you set up your trig, and I'm going to give you the side, so it's not hard to do. Take half, right? And then it's, by the way, the trig will always be tan. You don't have to think about this one, because you're always going to have this angle. You're going to have that side. You're going to be solving for the apothem. So it'll always be tan, whatever the degrees is, side over the A. So the math behind it is always going to be half of the side divided by tan of the degrees. If you want to write that down, you save yourself 4 steps. Half of the side divided by tan of the degrees. And it's always going to be that. By the way, this is a special right triangle, so if I didn't have a calculator, I would have used special right triangles. But I got a calculator, so I'm going to use that one. All right. Like I said, I'll give you one where I give you the apothem, like what's in front of your face right now, and one without. Okay, then you're good. All right, moving on. Circles, area. Questions?
Yes.
What's the formula for area of a circle? A is equal to pi r squared. The only way I can mess with you is if I give you a diameter. If I give you a diameter, you got to take half of the diameter. Not half of the answer, but half of the diameter to get to the radius. It's just pi r squared. Notice the instructions say, don't leave it in terms of pi, but round to the nearest tenth. It also says use 3.14. I don't really care. You can use the pi key or 3.14.
All right. Other than what the formula was, I have no clue.
Have what?
I said, other than what the formula was, I have no clue.
You have no more questions? All right. Anybody? Circles? Notice on 17, I gave you a diameter. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times pi is about 12. All right, circumference. You can screw this up because the 2 formulas have a pi, a 2, and an r in it. However, circumference is 2 pi r. Circumference, C for circumference, that's a horrible C. C for circumference is equal to 2 pi r, not pi r squared. Don't be the kid that messes up circumference and area. And I just did. Look at that. You do. So if you're given a diameter, you got to make a radius. So the radius here is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. You could. Very good. So 10 times pi is about 30. It isn't. Not at all. Not circles. All right. Last 2 things. Okay. Formulas. One is for arc length and one is for sector area. They both look really alike. Okay. All right, this is for arc length, arc length, arc length. It will be questions 20 and 21, right? Did I give you two of these? Okay, 20 and 21, arc length. So I don't know if you want to say the word arc length or AL. I'll put AL for arc length. Arc length is equal to, anybody remember? And X represents what? X represents what? The central angle or the arc measure, either one. Over 360. This gives you that percentage of the entire circle. Now we're doing arc length, so this one is times, anybody remember? It's the circumference, so 2 pi r. It's the circumference. It's not, you have a calculator. There's nothing painful if you have a calculator. And you're leaving it in terms of pi, you don't even need a cal. Well, maybe the numbers are not that friendly. Let's see. In the back is a fraction. I want you to leave it in terms of pi though, just so you have practice on that. So it's basically what? 45 divided by, or so 45 divided by 360 times 2 of the radius. 2 of the radius would be what? 30. And then tack a pi on it. Where'd I get the 30 from? 2 radius. I can reduce this in my head. 30 and 360. The 30 goes away. 30 goes into 360. So it's 45 over 12. What goes into 45 and 12? 3. 3 goes into 45 15 times. 3 goes into 12 4. So it's 15 over 4 pies. Now I'm hungry. And yes, I'm writing with my finger. That's why it looks bad. That is arc length. X is the central angle or the arc measure, either one, divided by 360 times 2 pi r. Type it right now. And then you got to hit the math button. You know. I reduced this whole big honkin' 45 over 360 times 30. I reduced that whole thing multiple times. I'm dividing it by 3. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 goes into 45 15 times. Matt, did you ever figure out? Well, 4 goes into 15, not 7 times. I think you're timesing it by pi. What did you use for numbers? It's not 2 times 30, it's 2 times 15. All right, last formula, we got about 4 minutes left. Last formula. There's 2 problems here, I'm only doing that one. Oops, going the wrong way. And 4 goes into 15 about 3.75 times. All right, the last formula is this one. Nope, sorry. Sector, here we go, 22, 23. Do you remember the formula now? So it's the same basic formula, except instead of the circumference, it's times area. So it's area is equal to, and it should be SA, sector area, not surface area, but sector area, is equal to X over 360, that's the central angle or the arc measure, times, in this case, pi r squared. Pi r squared. Can we do this in our heads? Let's see. X would be 150. 360 is 360. And the radius is 8. We got to square that. 64, and then tack on a pi. All right, this one's not as friendly. I mean, we actually could reduce this in our heads, but let's see. 4 goes into 64 16 times. 4 goes into 360 90 times. 2 goes into both of those. That would make that a 45. This is too much hassle, but you get the picture. You just put it in your calculator. 8. 5 goes into this. 5 goes into that 9 times. 5 goes into 150 30 times. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 30 10 times, and I think that's it for reducing. So I'm getting 80 over 3 pi. That was a lot of reducing. And what'd you get for calculator? 3 goes into 80 about 26 times. All right, that's the whole test. With one exception, the regular polygon one, it's a pretty simple test. The regular polygon one, we probably didn't do enough examples there, but the rest of it is pretty straightforward. It's just a formula. There's numbers. You plug the numbers into the formula. Just be careful with your calculator. Make sure you do the calculation at least twice. Matt, try to use some reasoning. Like try to do some estimations, because the problem is your calculator will always tell you an answer. Doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. Your calculator will always say something. If you don't stop yourself and check for reasonableness of the answer, you can have some silly things occur. I do want the homework. And Bree, do you have any questions?
No,
How are you doing, Bree?
I'm okay.
We miss you.
We know.
Thank you. I miss you too.
Mikey got his ice today. That's why he's so smart. Coffee 56 on the bag.
Do we want to talk about like reality, or we want to talk about fantasy? Okay, fantasy, you're not going to turn in any late work because you're not going to do it. Reality is what you really need to do is study for this test. Doesn't matter. Homework's 15% of your grade. So it would be smarter to study for the test or do your extra homework.
My parents are going crazy about me having 3
Okay, well then you tell them, first thing I'm gonna do, Mom and Dad, is I'm gonna pass the test so that I will at least have a C in the class, and then I will work on my missing homework. But you have a finite amount of time between now and the test, 24 hours, less than 24 hours.
Oh, wait, that's
23 hours. Study for the test, and then if you have extra time, then do the makeup work.
Actually, I have like I technically have like 21 hours to study because I'm only to sleep like 2 hours.
All right. All right, Bree, we're gonna stop it right there. If you have any questions, send me a chat or email.
Okay.
See ya.